welcome to Consciously Healthy. I'm Claire.
And I'm Laura. And today we are going to be talking about blood sugars.
I love talking about blood sugars.
I'm totally going to let you roll with this one. It's like skin for me.
Oh, I love talking about blood sugars. I get so excited about talking about blood sugars. Blood sugars are, I think, having now spent a long time in a clinic situation as a health practitioner, the more I dive into the health journey, the more I truly believe that our job in terms of being people who own bodies, so that's everyone, and our job as health practitioners is to stabilise blood sugars. Just so many conditions come off of unstable blood sugars. Now, it's like really easy to kind of think of the main ones. So, you know, obesity, diabetes, or as we like to term it in the health industry, diabesity. They're the really obvious ones, right? They're the ones we think of. However, unstable blood sugars can also lead to down the line, they can lead to thyroid imbalances because unstable blood sugars upset the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands have to get involved. We start pumping out adrenaline. We start pumping out stress hormone cortisol. After a while of this, then the thyroid starts to get exhausted and worn down, and everything just starts to collapse. On the other side, the other part that really starts to get affected is our sex hormones, so testosterone for men, and particularly estrogen for women. So what we're looking for with blood sugars is to keep our blood sugars nice and stable throughout the day. But what tends to happen is they do this. They go like a roller coaster. They go up and down, up and down. And the problem with that is the body doesn't know what it's doing. So when our blood sugars are high, the body tries to compensate by bringing in a load of insulin, and then the blood sugars drop. And often the amount of insulin that's being produced isn't the right amount of insulin because the body's gone into panic mode for the amount of for the sugar that's in the blood. So now our blood sugars drop too low. So now we start to get cravings to bring our blood sugars back up. So that might be the 11 o'clock biscuit or the coffee or whatever, to bring our blood sugars back up. And then in response to that, we have to produce insulin, and down our blood sugars go. And we end up with this roller coaster, this seesaw. And so not only is this really exhausting for the body, what happens after a period of time of doing this is that it just throws out, like I said, the hormones, and adrenaline's getting involved. So we just end up, it's one of the main causes that we see of things like, real sort of fatigue issues and hormone imbalances, isn't it? It's just a real thread, particularly around hormone imbalances.
And also digestive problems.
So many digestive problems because the pancreas, which releases the insulin, is also involved in digestion, so it has a knock-on effect. And blood sugar stabilization is actually really easy to do. We recommend eating at every meal protein, so meat source, eggs. We don't really recommend things like soya protein. So, but
no, especially if you've got estrogen
issues. No, so meat source proteins. And eggs, or alongside, sorry, not or, so you have your protein, then you have a fat. So this is a good fat. So this would be your nuts, seeds, avocados, oils, so things like olive oil, coconut oil, lovely. So you have your protein with your fat, and you have a carbohydrate. The carbohydrates are split into two different types. You have your starchy carbohydrates, so that's anything from potatoes, rice, legumes, pasta, bread, they're all your starchy carbs. We need to be really, really careful with starchy carbs. They only have a very small amount of those. You then have your non-starchy carbohydrates, which is, fruit comes in starchy carbs as well, which is a big mistake that people often make with blood sugars. So careful with the fruit. But then we have our unlimited, our non-starchy carbohydrates. So this is things like green leafy veg, it's broccolis, kales, leeks, all those kind of good stuff. Have as much little salads, have as much of those as you can possibly enjoy. So the idea is that every meal you have a protein, your fat, a small amount of starchy carbohydrate, and unlimited non-starchy carbohydrates. And to eat regularly. So a big mistake that people make is to not eat regularly enough. So, eating when you're hungry is so important, because if you go past the point of hunger, actually your bodies end up in a full adrenal response, like the body's gone into crisis. So eating when you're hungry is so important, and not just grabbing a sort of snacky thing, because that will actually raise your blood sugars. So personally, you know, I get kind of a bit jittery when I see people eating, you know, cornflakes and having a coffee, because that is just, you know, blood sugar spike central, and then they're going to plummet. And not only are you going to be really, really hungry a little bit later on, you know, you're actually putting yourself into massive sort of blood sugar destabilization. So you'd be thinking of balance. Well, everyone needs to balance their blood sugars all the time. A lot of rage, anger, kind of emotional instability comes off of low blood sugars or imbalanced blood sugars. Weight gain comes from imbalanced blood sugars.
Yeah, diabetes.
Weight loss as well.
Hypoglycemia.
Yeah, so people who can't put on weight, hypoglycemia, sort of nervous system conditions, people being a bit just jittery, and memory issues.
Yep, and when your blood sugars drop, then you can get quite shaky.
Yeah.
So that's a classic sign that blood sugars are unstable.
Anxiety, I think of blood sugars for anxiety as well.
Very
Anybody
much.
who's very fearful and anxious, it's because, you know, of the overriding amount of adrenaline in their body. It's not always the root cause, but it's definitely, you know, if you want to stop anxiety, get your blood sugars balanced. And, you know, a big thing that we talk about, and we will do a show on this another time, is infertility and fertility problems. And the first port of call is getting getting balance back in your diet and getting your blood sugar stabilised.
Nice. I could listen to you all day.
Oh, thanks. Love blood sugars. I do like to talk about this little triangle of kind of the connecting triangle of sort of blood sugar instability, adrenal imbalance, and hormonal imbalance.
So female hormones
Particularly estrogen is really susceptible to blood sugars. So
you've talked about diet to balance it. Would you look at any herbs?
So herbs, yes, definitely. Licorice root is amazing for balancing out blood sugars, and it has the extra added bonus of being an adrenal support as well.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Be careful of that if you've got high blood pressure, though. That's a contraindication.
It's because licorice is so high in chromium, and so as a mineral that I'd be looking at for blood sugars would be chromium.
Yeah. And in fact, pregnant women, you know, legally have to say check with your doctor, but we recommend pregnant women go on to chromium until week 36, and then after the baby's born, because chromium is really easily destroyed in the body and not very easily replenished, and it's a great way of not getting gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
And also not getting too many sugar cravings when you're pregnant.
But definitely chromium for pregnancy, but avoid the licorice. We stay away from herbs in pregnancy.
In pregnancy, yeah. So chromium on its own. Zinc and magnesium are huge in blood sugars and often overlooked. And in your body, we have, in all of your cells, there are receptor sites for insulin. And like these receptor sites have little, I like to think of them as doorkeepers, like gatekeepers, none shall pass. And but we want things to pass because we want the insulin to get in, you know. So the way that we make that happen is, you know, one of those gatekeepers is zinc and one is magnesium. So by having zinc and magnesium in the body, we're allowing the natural blood sugar restabilization to happen.
Amazing.
Oils, so fish oils, really important, or flaxseed oil, because that helps to clear any old insulin that's sitting around. And the problem is, when we end up on this roller coaster, the body keeps producing so much insulin and it can't figure out how much is in there, because then you're eating more sugar and it just ends up all confused. We end up becoming insulin resistant, and this is something, it's called metabolic disease or syndrome X or pre-diabetic, and it's
hyperglycemia.
Hyperglycemia. It's when you've got high blood sugars and but the body's not clearing it because you've got too much insulin. And it's after that the body gives up and then stops making insulin, which is when you go into full sort of diabetes. So it's really so important, and it is something that we can all change. And it's not about, you know, dieting. It's about eating protein, fat and carbs at every meal and being careful of your starchy carbs.
Any more top tips to add to this?
What
would be the one thing, if someone was going, yeah, my blood sugars are unstable, I get the shakes and I get cravings, what is the first thing that I can do about it?
First thing, eat regularly, and this is a real top tip, have a bedtime snack. So a bedtime snack is actually, it breaks the rule of the protein, fat and carbs, because you only have fat and carb. So it might be something like half an apple that you cook up in a little bit of butter, Lovely. Sprinkle a bit of cinnamon on the top.
Nice.
It's not a massive amount, it's literally a couple of mouthfuls. So half a banana with some almond butter. And actually, bedtime snacks are something that really has changed a lot of my clients' health.
Nice. I really like that one. I would like to share a kinesiology top tip for blood sugars.
Oh, lovely.
And these are the blood sugar points that we often rub or thump in the clinic. So you want to find, I'm quite bony around here. So for people who are listening, I want you to find your collarbone. And there are 2 points underneath the collarbone.
So if you find where the collarbone stops right in the middle at your throat, come down underneath that and come out either side. So the like little fleshy hollow underneath the
collarbone.
the lumps of the collarbone.
And you want to really either thump that or rub it,
These are acupuncture points called Kidney 27.
Thank you very much. And you also want to find spleen 21, I believe it is, which is along your bra line.
So if you take
underneath your armpit.
Yeah. So it's like where, yeah, exactly. It's where if you're wearing a bra, it's just as the top of the bra
Underneath your armpit.
strap. Yeah. So for men, the way I like to describe this is if you you put your arm out straight and do a thumbs down, not a thumbs up, and then you bring just literally bend your elbow directly in where the thumb stops, that's spleen 21.
And you know you're on the right point because if your blood sugars are unstable, that is going to be nasty.
And you tap them together.
Yeah. Give yourself a really good thump. And I would recommend, you do both sides. I would recommend to do this when you are feeling the craving for something like a coffee or some chocolate, or if you feel that your blood sugars have dropped, then you give your K27 and your spleen 21 a really good thump on both sides. You'll feel much better.
Yeah, it's a lovely, nice tip.
Why, thank you very much.
Oh, great. Well, that's it for now, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye for now.